TJ, how was the break? What do you feel like you guys got accomplished over the break?
I think in terms of accomplishment over the break, what you're hoping is guys have an opportunity to have a reset, spend the time with their family. Um, we put a lot of work into our day-to-day process. So I think when there's times to reset, recharge, you need to take advantage of those, get your body feeling great, spend the time with people you love and care about, and come back, with a renewed energy and excitement for what's in front of us.
Did you guys do any on-court activities? How important is that to kind of have that mental refresh?
Yeah, I mean, our guys were off for whatever it was, 3.5, 4 days. And I think it's extremely important to have the mental refresh over, the course of a season. You're playing X amount of games, but, we start our process in June, right? And so you can't go from June until late March or April and be all the way, you know, turned up to 10 out of 10 every single day the whole way through. You've got to find ways to pick your spots where you need to have great practices and energy. You need to pick your spots where you need to mentally get away from it. Ideally, pick your spots where even social media, you take a break from that and you just focus on being the person that you are and give yourself that reset. I mean, we talked to our guys a lot about it's not who you are, it's what you do, and you have to treat it as such, as important as it is, and as competitive as we are. It doesn't define you as a person. It's something that you do that you have a tremendous passion for.
Thanks a lot, man. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, brother.
Coach, what's the message to the team with one final non-con game before conference play?
Yeah, we look at it and say, our opportunities each day in practice to get better is where we're focused at this point in time, and we'll start to prepare for that game tomorrow. Up until that point, and again, even at the preparation, we're still 90% about what we do and 10% probably about the opponent. But um, for us, it's about keeping focus on your daily habits, keep getting better, keep investing time in one another. The time our guys spend together off the court, so important. Right now, they've got about a month before class resumes, so there's all kinds of time to invest in each other as people, to get in the necessary work, to do the recovery things you need to do. And so I think it takes a tremendous amount of maturity every day to do everything in your power to make yourself the best you can, and then also how that will impact our team in terms of our team getting better.
Hey, Coach. I know you've talked about this in the past, but Killian's maturity for a kid his age to come over to the United States and leave his family, how have you seen him handle all of the challenges that come with that?
Yeah, he's obviously an extreme outlier in terms of maturity, experience, physical and mental toughness. Um, he handles it so well because he's consistent. He has a higher standard for himself than what anybody else could even expect. So what you see from Killian each day is he's not ever a guy that you have to talk to about going harder or giving more. And so I think that's a big sign of maturity. Also, not like the highs and the lows of not feeling like, well, if I scored this many points or did this, that's good, and if I didn't do that, that's bad. It's more a maturity of an understanding that all of it is part of the process and growth. And even when things don't go well or as well as you would like, that there's not you don't get down or you don't feel bad. You just know that's part of it. So I think because he's been away from home, even in France, because he had a year in prep school, um, there's all these different things that could point to why he's so good in that area. I also think, his father has a military background, so I think there's a mindset of, just how you approach work and how important that is every single day, and you can tell that in his upbringing. So all those things are a tremendous credit to him, and I also think he's got some great leaders and examples in our program of guys that can, set that tone or example, or he can look at as well.
To follow up, he's someone who seems like he always has a smile on his face, is happy to engage with people. How do you see him balance like the maturity and the seriousness of what you guys are trying to accomplish while also bringing a joy and a light and a sense of fun to everything you guys do every day?
Yeah, I think he genuinely enjoys the hard work. He enjoys the intensity. He enjoys the competitiveness. He's at his best, doing that. And so, he's got that look in his eye and a smile on his face, which is great to see. And it's something that I just think is part of who he is and part of his personality. And I think when you're between the lines, you know that you're going to be in for a fight with him every possession on both sides of the ball. And I think he also has a humility and a gratitude to realize how fortunate he is for this experience and opportunity, and that it's not going to last forever, and to enjoy it while you're in it. And I think both of those things for him are very, you can tell are present in how he carries himself, in everything that he does.
Hey
Our
TJ,
coaches, Travis.
what are you seeing from your guys in terms of maturity and mindset of handling the success of the last 2 months and still knowing that like the hard part hasn't started yet for you guys?
Yeah, yeah. I think we talk about it. We talked about it even last night as a group. Like this is what we've accomplished up to this point. It's great. Um, Everything's going to get harder. Everything's going to be more difficult. And so, we've talked about the accomplishments we've had as a team, and those are great. And it's great to get off to a good start. It's also, there's individual things that guys are accomplishing and have accomplished. And so, um, I even looked at, we talked about as a group, we're averaging close to 91 points a game. Well, when we got into league play, in the past 2 years, our scoring average is decreased, and there's a reason why. And it's you play great defenses. People know your personnel. You make tougher choices. There's great coaches in the league. All of that. And so what happens naturally is some of the things that are going well individually, from a statistical standpoint, those can get altered, and for our team, they can get altered, right? And so it's not being too attentive to any numbers, percentages, Ken Palm, or any of that stuff. Ultimately, it's staying in a place of humility. It says, all right, we've got to this point because we worked hard. We have talented players, a good team, and we've stayed humble and we've stayed together. And for us to be successful moving forward, it's going to take that same thing, except even more, even better. And especially when adversity or challenges set in both in a possession in a game, but then also, over the stretch of conference play. So I think talking about it, being transparent about it, is important. I hope for our guys that allows them to alleviate, possible anxiety or stress or anything along those lines. But some of the things that we've done as a team and some of the things guys have done individually are not very common up to this point. And it's not getting enamored with those things. It's not getting enamored with what's happened. It's more about keeping your focus on why we're in this position. Do the work, stay focused, keep your head down, keep plowing forward, one day at a time.
Is there a trait either at the individual or at the collective level that you've seen that translates best to a person or a group handling that success, into whether it's into conference play or into adversity or even continued success?
Yeah, and I think it's more process oriented people. Like I think sometimes people can, get really high and low based on their individual performance in a game. And I think that's dangerous because, there's decisions other teams can make that on a given night might make J. Jeff have to pass more and not score as much, or, put Milan in position where he needs to drive more closeouts and not shoot as many threes, or put Taman in position where they play him more to take his passing away and make him be a scorer. And so there's all these things that, other teams can do that you have to just recognize it's part of a process. It's part of what takes shape over the course of a season. And I think sometimes when you have guys that come out and say, hey, tonight I want to score 20, or I want to get 10 assists, or, I want to protect this percentage, I think then there's the highs and lows. And we want to stay away from that. We want to stay process driven. we know that over time that things will, work themselves out. And I think it's important for our team to understand that so you don't feel like a loss is a failure. You don't feel like adversity in a game is insurmountable. You just kind of take it all as it comes and recognize we have a really good team. We need to keep doing the work, keep investing in each other, and whatever the outcomes will be, they will be. But we control how we practice, how we treat each other, how we react to those things in games, how we handle media, social media. Those are things within the realm of our control, and we need to do a great job at being good at those.
Thanks,
TJ,
TJ.
have you run across Craig Doty before? He had a good run here at Graceland in the state of Iowa. Do you know much about Coach?
No, I know he's had a highly successful background. I know that did a tremendous job in the state and won championships and has continued to climb and elevate himself through the ranks to Division II and now at this opportunity. So a lot of respect for what he's accomplished and continues to accomplish. And you can tell he's made his mark on their program already. And I'm sure, just like everywhere he's been, they'll continue to get better and have a really high standard and, be an impressive program.
Coach, you mentioned teams adjusting to personnel. How have you seen Killian adjust to other coaches knowing stuff about him and having a scout on him? And how do you anticipate him handling that going forward?
Well, the great thing about Killian is that, he's got so many different skills and abilities that can impact winning. Like certainly defensively, his ability on the basketball, he's gotten better off the ball as a rebounder, anticipation. On the offensive side of things, he's working every day. He's continuing to develop as a decision maker, playmaker. We're seeing the consistency in his three-point shooting. Where we've challenged him even more is with his cutting. When he scored more, it's been great cutting and offensive rebounding and some energy offensive points that have got him an extra, 6 points that way. So it's really not just focusing on one aspect of his game. We want to develop our guys in terms of being complete players across the board instead of being, one dimensional or hanging their hat on just one skill set. And I think for Killian, he's fortunate that, he can make plays off the bounce. He can finish at the rim. He can knock down the three. He can be the guy that's, the play that leads to the play. There's so many things that he can do. So I think it's just focusing on making the right play and making the right decision. And fortunately for our team, with the guys that we put out there, we have confidence in everybody's ability to make plays and score the basketball. So it's not like there's a guy out there you can say, hey, let's not guard this guy or let's be very help conscious off that guy. Because if you do that, we're going to put our trust in our teammates to make the play and make the decision that's best for us at that moment.
Morning, TJ.
Hi, Bill.
Hey, question on your rotation. You guys used 9 against Long Beach till the last couple minutes. Is that going to continue to be the case? I think I asked you about this earlier in the season. You said it was going to be about how the guys make their stuff work once they get into the game. So one final tune-up before conference play. I mean, is this kind of a final audition for guys like a Dominic Nelson or a Plata or a Bateman before you get into conference?
Yeah, I look at it more as like, every day in practice, they have opportunity to earn playing time, right? There's all these things you can do to earn more opportunities. There's the work you do in practice, the production you have in practice. Guys in our program can earn trust by what they do academically, what they do as people, all those things matter. So everything factors into those decisions. When we get into the game, I think it's like I said earlier, like I don't look at it as much as a rotation for our team this year. I look at it more as you might get an opportunity, and if you make the game go well in your opportunity, and then that'll put you in position to get more. So, we've got some older, experienced guys we certainly trust in, pretty big capacities, and then it's for some others, it's trying to carve out a niche and fit in amongst that group and bring value to what that specific group is. So, I think when you look at those guys, I mean, Plata has been a guy that, like, man, he's gotten better. Like, if there's such a thing as most improved from June to now, like, yeah, Blake Buchanan has certainly caught everyone's attention and done some great things. And I also think Don Plata is someone that continues to make tremendous strides. Unfortunately, he had the ankle sprain that, caused him to be out a little bit, but I think he's back and he's feeling great. Bateman, defensively, we've got tremendous trust in him. He's a great communicator. He pressures the ball, and then he's a guy that brings another shot maker, which certainly, with the abilities of our other guys, specifically J. Jeff and Taman, their ability to get in the paint consistently and create advantages, having that shooting ability, who's also a great defender, is really important. And I think for Nelson, I think there's games and times where he's gone in and changed the whole course of the game with his ability to get to the basket and get in the paint. And so I think for all of them, I don't go into the game saying who's going to play and not going to play necessarily. It's just kind of what the situation dictates. But if you're any of those guys, you want to do what you can every day in practice to show your urgency and your readiness and your preparation, and then that will be in my mind as we go into the game. And then if your number's called, in the game, then we'll all see it in the production and the energy that they bring to the winning will be honored accordingly. So I think it's great that we have guys, multiple guys that we can call on. I think Cade Kelderman is a guy that always is ready and stays ready, and he's right on the brink of more playing time as well. And then with Eric Mulder getting in a rhythm and a routine, it's again, all these guys every single day they have an opportunity. And I know that sounds cliche, but we do really value practice and we value the effort, we value the energy, we value the production, and I'm always going to believe that you're going to play in the game to level your habits. So if your practice habits are really sound, I'll believe that your game habits will be as well. And so I think for those guys, that's what they got to focus on is treating practice like it's their game and then hoping that more opportunities present themselves within the game.
Is this your deepest team you had at Iowa State, do you think, or even going back to your other two stops?
I think like depth is, everybody evaluates it differently because I think some look at it rotation. How many can you play? How many do you play? How do guys fit together? I think in some respects you could say that we do have a lot of depth because we have quite a few different guys that bring something to the table that can benefit our team. And then at the same time, that doesn't mean that skill set is something we need every single night or we're going to call on every single night. So from that vantage point, I do think you could make that, assertion that we have depth and we have a lot of depth. There's a lot of guys we can count on and trust. And I also think each game is different. And especially when you get into league play, all our focus right now is on this game, on Monday with Houston Christian. And at the same time, like ultimately, as you move forward in the season, different games call for different skill sets and strategies. So having guys that are prepared and ready for whatever that might be on a given night is important. And we are fortunate to have, a number of guys that fit that bill.
Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks.
Thank you guys.
Thanks, guys.